this lesson, we're going to go over managing data. Entering and managing lots of data can be a daunting task. It's easy to get overwhelmed in all of those rows and columns of information. The solution is to use a form. A form is simply a dialog box that lets you display or enter information one record or row at a time. It can also make the information more visually appealing and easier to understand. Most people who are familiar with the MS Office suite associate complex forms with Excel's sister program, Access. But you can use these very same forms in Excel as well. In fact, you can even share data between the two programs. There are two kinds of forms available in MS Excel: data forms and worksheet forms. Data forms are generally used for data entry. They are simple forms that list the contents of a single column. What's more, they can display up to 32 fields at a time. This is especially helpful when dealing with a data range that reaches across more columns than what will fit on the screen. You can insert, update, delete, and even find records with these data forms. Worksheets. Worksheets are forms that are more sophisticated and specialized. They can be customized to fit the information at hand or to fill a particular need. They can even be complex and appealing enough to be printed or distributed online. Worksheet forms must be created using the Microsoft Visual Basic Editor, which is beyond the scope of this course. Adding the Form button to the Quick Access toolbar. The Form button is not included in the ribbon, but you can add it pretty easily to the Quick Access toolbar, which, if you remember, is in the upper left-hand corner of the application window. To add the Form button, click on the arrow to the right of the Quick Launch toolbar and select More Commands. This will launch the Excel Options window, which can also be accessed by clicking Options on the File tab. So let's open up a blank workbook. We click this down arrow key and we go to More Commands. Now in the Choose Commands form box, we want to select commands that are not in the ribbon, and we want to scroll down to the list until we find Forms. We want to select that and add it to this Quick Access toolbar. So the first thing we want to do is it defaults to popular commands, but what we want is commands not in the ribbon. So we select this, and then we look for Forms, which is right here, Form. And then we add that over, and we click on OK. So now the forms are quickly and easily accessible using our Quick Access toolbar. It's right up here. So let's click on the Form button, and it says we couldn't do this for the selected range of cells. Select a single cell within a range of data and then try again. And the reason we're getting this error message is because there is no data for it to create a form for. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up a workbook here. We have data list. Excellent. We'll just close that one. Now we're going to go over the data list. It immediately figures out, oh, first name, last name, email, phone. And we can scroll through all the records just like this, or the previous records, and we create a new record, and we can go J. Holt at and that's how you would enter a new record. You would just click on New, and it's done. And if we close that, we'll see that he's been added. He was added right here, Jimmy Holt. We can edit records here. Of course, we can edit directly on the spreadsheet, but we can also just click on the form here, and we could change, oh no, it's Sarah J. Con. That's all you have to do, hit close, and it's been changed right here. All right, so if we go back into the form here, navigating through the records is pretty easy in the data form. If you have a lot of records, navigating through them can be a challenge, but this should make it a little bit easier. If you want to move to the next record in the data form, press Enter or the down arrow key. So pressing the down arrow key and pressing the up arrow key. To move to the first record of the data list, you would do Control plus the arrow key, up arrow key. That's the first one. So to go to the bottom, to go to the last record, which would be a new record, we would hit Control down arrow key. It says new record, but it would be record 17. We can hit the up arrow key once and go to record 16. We can hit Control up arrow key to go to the very first row. If you want to find a specific record, you can use the criteria button in the data form. So when you click on the criteria button here, Excel clears the field entries in the data form. Instead, the word criteria is displayed. Notice that the word criteria is above the new button, which is right here, and the new button is inactive since we're searching for a record. Now, let's say we're looking for one of our records. Let's say we're looking for a person named Sandy Sanford, but we have, hypothetically, thousands of records to search from in the list. So what we could do is we could enter their name, which would be first name Sandy, and we could just say from this criteria, we would say find next, and it would find it for us immediately. Find previous, find next. We can also change it at this point and say, oh, her name changed to Samuels. So she's now Sandy Samuels. And then we can just close that, and we found that record, and we changed it to Samuels. There's some additional wildcards you can use for searching. So let's click on criteria. You may want to say, oh, anything that begins with an S. The asterisk there acts as a wildcard. So that would mean any name that begins with S. So obviously there's two, Sarah and Sandy. We could click on criteria again and say, no, we want to include any name that contains the letter S. That would be asterisk, S asterisk. And then we find a lot more. We find a lot more names that contain the letter S. Alrighty, let's go over data validation. Data validation lets you choose what information is acceptable to enter into a cell. For instance, you may have a product code that has to be 4 digits. You can set up a cell so that anything other than a 4-digit number will display an error message. To set up a data validation, select a cell or cells, then click the Data tab. Go to the option Data Validation in the Data Tools group. So let's select the phone number because this should be a standard format. We go to the Data tab, and then we go to the Data Tools group, and we select the option Data Validation. And right now it says allow any value. And what we really want is probably a text length. And this data, the minimum and the maximum text length for the phone number, we'll just say that it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, that it needs to be at least 10 digits bit with the dashes no more than 12. And then show input message when cell is selected. When cell is selected, show this input message. We actually don't need to do that because that's actually going to pop up an annoying window every time they select a cell telling them, oh, this is a special format. But we can show them this error message, which is phone number. We'll just call it phone number. Phone number needs to be in the format XXX-XXX-XXX. Alrighty, so we've set up some validation here for the phone number, and let's just add another person to our list here. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to break the rule and enter a number that it's not going to like. And then we're going to go to the next cell, and it says phone number needs to be in the format XXXXXX. So we're going to say retry, and let's do, now will it accept this? Yes, that it accepts. But if I come in here and try to add an extra digit and save it, it'll say no, no, no. Phone number needs to be in the format XXXXXXXX. Retry. So, auditing. Excel 2013 gives you a variety of tools to audit information in a worksheet. Just like data forms, formula auditing can take some of the confusion and frustration out of dealing with lots of different formulas. You can also see which cells have invalid information in them. To use these tools, go to the Formulas tab and then browse to the Formula Auditing group. Select Error Checking and choose Error Checking from the drop-down menu. So we want to go to the Formulas tab, and we want to select in the Formulas Auditing group here, we want to select this option here, which is error checking. Check for common errors that occur when using formulas. Now the first thing it's done is it's found an error already in cell D10 because this is an invalid format. So what we want to do is we want to edit this in the formula bar, and we want to fix that to make that coincide with our data validation. Now we're going to open up another spreadsheet here that has actual formulas in it. So we have this simple worksheet here, charting monthly expenses, and let's just remove that. Now we're going to select the worksheet, and there's a few things we can do under the Formulas tab, under the Formula Auditing. It's not always apparent when cells have formulas in them, therefore the first step to evaluate the formulas would be to find them. So what you can do is you can click the Show Formulas button, which is right here. So now this will show us all the formulas. And for this specific thing, let's just go over here. So we can see we have a lot of formulas that are summing up everything here. Let's take a closer look at the other functions in the Formula Auditing group. We have the Trace Precedence and we have the Trace Dependence options. These two buttons allow you to trace and to turn off trace precedence in the formula. A precedence cell is one that is referred to by a formula in another cell. So if we do this and click here, it says the trace precedence command requires that the active cell contain a formula which includes valid references. So what we want to do is first select here a formula, and then we can track what it's doing. And it shows us this line, oh, this formula is using all of this information here with this blue arrow. And we can click onto this cell and do a trace on that, click on this cell, do a trace on that. So we trace the precedence by clicking here. Now if we want to remove these arrows, we've done analyzing this stuff and we understand where these formulas are getting their data, we can just say remove arrows, and that cleans it up for us. The trace dependence works in the reverse fashion, and the way that works is when we click on a dependent cell here, when we click on this cell, we look at what it's dependent on, and it's saying, oh, I'm part of this equation here. So the arrow key is showing from here, this goes to that formula. So if I click on this here and select trace dependence, it's saying, yes, I'm part of this formula. And if it was part of multiple formulas, it would, as this box is showing you, it would show everywhere that it would be used in. This visually really helps, particularly when formulas get complicated and cells become part of many formulas within a worksheet. You'll be using this feature a lot to track where everything is being used. So we're going to select Remove Arrows. The watch window is useful when you're not sure if alterations to the value in a cell will affect a formula. You can easily remind yourself of the formula by adding it to the watch window. So to use the watch window, we would click on a formula such as this one, and we'll select watch window. And we're going to say add watch. So we're going to look at C13. The evaluate formula function will perform the calculations of formula in slow motion so you can see each step. To use it, select a formula, then click evaluate formula. So let's look at this first one, and we'll go to evaluate formula, which is located right here. And we select evaluate,